All right. I don't care about those little flaws in the green screen anymore, because the other alternative is to do ironing, and I'm not going to do that. All right, just kidding. So, something made me laugh. Hang on, I'll tell you what it is in a second. It's Monday, February the 6th, 2023. And my name is Aaron Short. Welcome to the YouTube channel live stream. I got the guitar plugged into the quad Cortex today. We'll do some acoustic stuff. I got some problems that I'm dealing with that you can either help me figure out or not. We can try some things out with the quad Cortex. So Doc was here first. He says, "Is it Monday already?" Yes. I know the time is flying by, isn't it, Doc? It's absolutely insane. Good to see you here, buddy. Bernard Smith, it really is Monday. Jasper North, acoustic stuff. Yes! I can just imagine you saying that, even though I have no idea what your voice sounds like. Vic G, good to see you. Acoustic Monday is here. I know, we've been electric lately. I think it's good to mix things up. If I'm going to be here every week, then it's probably a good idea to mix things up each week, right? No, I was just playing whatever. I don't know what that was. It started off a bit like... started off a bit like While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Then it went to the relative major of A minor, which is C major. To that lovely B flat chord. Lee says, "Good evening, Aaron. Everyone, I'm working as you." I thought he said working out. Working. That's good. Same thing. Patsy Smith. This is what made me laugh. Love that rain song. No. If I hide my eyes, it should go into focus. Let's see. There we go. It's the Martin. It's the old faithful. It's the old HDC 28 Anthem, which we haven't seen for a long time. I thought I'd get it out. We'll talk about it as we go. Lee says, "We're still looking where to book. Let you know as soon as Rosanna makes her mind up." Are we allowed to tell everyone what's happening with you guys? I don't want to say anything. I guess you're kind of telling everyone, but I'll let you announce it in the chat. Hi, Rosanna. Good to see you. So I've been having a problem lately. Been having a bit of a problem with my guitar. So my gigging guitar. And I don't know why it took me so long to realize this. Sometimes I'm very slow to realize things, I have to admit. So I got the two Cole Clarks, and I don't know if this is on all of them, but I'm sure it's not. The problem is I'm using the smaller Cole Clark for gigs the last, what's it been there, almost a year, coming up to a year now. But I've noticed lately that I'm not staying in tune. I guess I didn't worry about it too much because in the old days I wouldn't bend on acoustic. Now I'm bending the strings all the time. Like whenever I take a solo now, I bend the string. Right? So, not like that, but you know what I mean. So, I just realized the other day, I thought, I'm tuning the guitar between every song. And I thought back to years ago when I used to gig this guitar and other guitars. Not just, you know, this isn't to bash anything. I'm sure my issue is with the setup of this particular model that I have, right? So, and I'm going to fix it and I'll find out what this is. But I just suddenly realized that before I never used to be tuning every song. I used to tune before each set. So I would tune, especially with acoustic, I would tune the guitar. This is what I do, just so you know. So I put new strings on, not every gig, but you know, make sure the strings are nice. And then when you put them on, you want to stretch them all the way up the neck here. And then once you've stretched them all, and you can be pretty aggressive. I mean, you can get so aggressive that you pull the string out too much or you break a string. So don't go crazy, but you should get your fingers under the string and really feel it lifting away from the fretboard like that. And do it all the way down the string right to the end. And then you tune again. So that has dropped slightly. But that very slightly, as you heard. And that was extreme. Because that was extreme pulling on the string. And if you do this a few times, what will happen is a eventually it won't go out of tune. The low E is always a big culprit for me as well. See if that went out. Very slightly though. Very slightly. So the idea is you do this enough times and then you get to the point where when you tune, it doesn't go flat anymore. And what that means is when you then come to bend a string at a gig, it's about as far as I can go on here. See, that dropped a tiny amount. That's now in tune. So now that's in tune. So with the other guitar, when I do that, it goes out a little bit. And I'm having to retune it because I have to be in tune because I use a vocal harmony pedal. So my tuning is very important. And I really believe about being in tune as well. So I think the issue could be, and let me know in the chat what you think it could be. It can only be, and this is a good way to look at the guitar, because sometimes in the past I've looked at a guitar and thought, there's something wrong with my guitar, it must be an alien or a ghost in the guitar. That is simply not the case. A guitar is a big piece of wood, right? So what could it be? What's making contact here that could be causing the guitar to go out of tune? Well, let's start here. We've got the tuners. So first of all, these are vintage style tuners. These are not adjustable really. The ones on the Cole Clark are the bigger, more modern tuners, and they have both a screw which you can tighten, and also the nut here you can tighten it here. You can on this one as well. So I have tightened the nuts here on that guitar. I haven't tightened the actual tuners themselves yet. The next thing, which I think is probably the culprit, is the nut. If the nut isn't smooth, if the strings get caught in the nut and it's not lubricated with either like graphite or nut lubricant, then the string will get stuck. And as you bend up, the string will move in the nut and stay there. And then it'll be out of tune. So the nut is very important that it's cut just right. And then the only other place it can really be is the saddle, which also could suffer from that as well, but not quite as much because the string doesn't go into it like it does at the nut. It goes over the saddle, right? And then the bridge pins here. So the string could be moving inside there. That's really why you stretch the strings. That makes sure that it pulls them through and takes any like slack out of the string. So I think the problem with that other guitar is the nut. I think I need to get the nut looked at, have it filed, make sure the strings are gliding through and have it lubricated. So that's something that I will have done. And the reason I pulled this out was I thought I was going crazy and it's just that I'm bending more notes now. But sitting here and playing this today, let me try a few extreme things. Look. Now check that tuning. I mean, I'm using a strobe tuner, remember, so this is like the most accurate tuner in the world. It's like slightly gone slightly sharp. So it's going to happen, but that was extreme. I bend all those notes. I'm talking about going out of tune just from doing a few lead lines with a like that. That should be in tune now. I mean, it's probably gone like 2 cents flat. So I guess it is partly the way I'm playing lately, but it's definitely the guitar as well. Yeah, so let me know what you think about it in the comments. Also, let me know about your guitars. Like, have you ever tried that? Like, tune your guitar perfectly, and then do some bending, and then check the tuning again. See, that's now perfectly in tune. So one bend did not make that go out of tune. But if I really did all those like 10 bends, yes. I mean, yeah. If you can do a really big solo and do lots of bending and vibrato and pound on the strings, you probably want to quickly tune after the fact. But one bend like that should not make the guitar go out of tune. And it shouldn't go out of tune if you're just strumming either. So let me know what you think about that in the comments, because that's something I'm dealing with at the moment. But it's nice to know that this is not suffering from that, which is really cool. The other thing is a Peterson strobe tuner is really important for me, and I've now got it wired in here next to the quad Cortex because it's so fast. Now my TC Helicon tuner in the pedal is absolutely fine, I'm not going to, it sounds awful, but I'm not going to be bothered to take a dedicated strobe tuner just for the gig, although I might start doing it occasionally just to check my tuning when I'm bending on the acoustic. But it's a great thing to have. If you do have a pedal board for gigs, you should get a Peterson Strobo Stomp HD, because it literally E, B, it catches it so quickly, and it's so accurate that other tuners cannot be that accurate. So look, let me show you how I can tune this quick. Ready? In tune, in tune, in tune, in tune, in tune, in tune. Done. I love it. I've always talked about Peterson strobe tuners. I just got another one on the tabletop here. So now you can't see it, but I have the Peterson tuner, the Quad Cortex. I turn on the power. The Quad Cortex is loading. While it's loading, the Peterson is on and muted. I can tune the guitar, and then I can press the button on the tuner to unmute it, and I've got the Quad Cortex ready to go. So let me see what you're saying in the chat, because, like I said, this is something that I'm dealing with at the moment. Julian, good to see you. Said good evening. Lee's back to work. Tone Pilot, looking at your t-shirt, I'm reminded that I just got the book on Sun Records. Awesome. Called The Birth of Rock and Roll. Large coffee table format. That's nice. When I get a coffee table, I'm going to get that book. I like real books and things, right? I mean, I love ebooks and iPads and all that. Definitely. Of course. But it's nice to have a book, especially on something you care about, like music. I've got a few of them. I've got one on Elvis, which is kind of related to Sun. Okay, so we can announce what's happening with Lee and Rosanna. They're planning a trip to New York to go to Martin and to visit in New York City, and then to fly down onto Mexico. So they haven't confirmed it yet, but you might be seeing some video of us in one of the local stores here, which would be cool. I'll take them to Guitar. Have you guys been to Guitar Center before? I'm going to take you there. Too many winds around the tuners can cause stability problems. That's a good point. I tend to put, let me see, I've got 2 on the low E, 2 on the A, 3 on the D, 3 on the G, and about 3 or 4 on the B and E. So I don't think that's a, I'm also very impressed at my string winding. They're very, very neat. Very neat indeed. So. And this is good. I'm going to read your thoughts on my issue. And then when I take it to Evan and I have it fixed, I can tell you who was correct. Tuning down instead of up will also cause... That's a good point. So when you tune a string... I'm just going to go over all these just in case there's people here that don't know. When you tune a string, right? If you tune a string and you're sharp... So that E is now sharp, okay? You can tune back down to the E, of course. That's now in tune. But you don't want to do that. You want to go down past the E. You want to go flat. And then back up to the E. It's why people say, I'm going to tune up. Right? If you're sharp, don't just tune down to the note and leave it. Because then the string is kind of not settled in. If you tune back down, it's going down. It'll keep going down. Go down past the note and then come back up to the note. And it will hold the pitch better. Very good. Hi, Thomas. Good to see you. Now, Victory has another possible thing. You could have a temperamental string. But no, I don't have a temperamental string because I've had this issue for months. And I've had several sets of strings of various brands that have all had this issue. My guess is going to be the nut is not cut quite right for the strings. And they're binding. But what normally happens when a string binds in the nut, the way you know is that as you tune the string up to pitch, it goes ping. It goes like that. You hear a ping, ping, ping. You'll hear that a lot before a guitar's been set up really well. Like if you're in a local store and playing guitars and tuning them, you'll hear like a ping as you're tuning the string. Sometimes you hear a ping, 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 ping. And what that is the string actually catching in the nut. And that means you're going to get those tuning issues. But the guitar with this issue does not do that. But I still think it's related to that. I don't know what else it could be apart from the tuners. Gary says, great sounding guitar. My favorite, as you know. That's because you have one, Gary. Didn't you get one because of me? Bill Springer, what strings are on your GPC? This is an HDC. This is the Dreadnought. I don't know what these are. I think these are Elixir because I did a video, didn't I? I can't remember. I'm not sure what these... No, I think these are Martin strings. Yeah, these are Martin strings. You know how I know? Because I can see they're starting to go dead already. I've been using Elixir a lot lately, and I really like them. If I had my way, I'd have someone restring my guitar with these Martin strings every day. I do think they feel nicer. They kind of grip your fingers. And they have kind of a little bit of a roughness to them, the sound. They have a grit. So if I had my way, I would use these all the time. But they just die for me really quickly, and I have to keep changing strings. And they get really like nasty under the string. You're going to tell me to wipe the string. Okay, I don't do that. I should do. Because you get that build up under the string, which will then not corrode. It will ruin your frets. Because that's going to be rubbing against the fret wire. The Elixirs do not get that at all. And even if they do, weeks later, a quick wipe, and even just my finger, it just comes right off and the string looks brand new. And when I restring them after a couple of months, the only reason I know I've used them for a while is that where the string goes on the fret, there's a slight wear. But the actual string is not dirty at all. So I've been using them lately. I really like them, the Elixirs, the Elixir strings. But yeah, so I would... My two favorite strings are the Martin Lifespan and then the Elixir Phosphor Bronze, and I choose them depending on the application at the time. But lately, I've got to admit, I've been using Elixirs a lot. And you know what I should do then? I should probably put a set of Martin strings on that other guitar, because these are Martin strings. It could be the strings, but I've not heard anyone say that Elixirs don't hold their tuning before. So I still think it's a setup problem. You should capture your amp 1 channel in the QC. Why? I found some great amps in there lately. And I'll probably make different videos on the different amps in the QC, but lately I'm just using the John Petrucci because I've got the real amp, and I don't know, I'm used to that sound. This is just acoustic guitar plugged into QC, reverb, and an EQ that's not engaged. I've got something on my finger that's preventing me from finger picking, kind of like catching the string. But yeah, this is just straight in with the mic. As you know, I like to run my mic on maximum. This is the mic on 0. You get that plasticky kind of piezo sound. I'm not a fan of that at all. Here's the mic on full mix. It's a very bright sound. There is a trim control inside here that you can adjust with a special tool to balance out the mic with the piezo. But what you can do is, what I advise people to do is to just use a good EQ. Take some of that high end off, boost the low end a bit, and cut some of the mid-range a little bit. I could do it on here actually if you want me to, because it is a little bit harsh in the mids, a little bit glassy sounding. But that does give you a nice kind of sound that would cut through a room, you know, which is cool. Thomas Moore says, I got the Sonic Research Mini Turbo because it was smaller. It was very fast. I can turn my tuners very fast and get in tune quickly and let it go. It will go out in the hair. So that's the thing. I used to use those tuners. They had a bigger one and they got the Mini. The Mini doesn't take a battery. But I do prefer the display on the Strobo Stomp HD. What a great tuner. You know, I'm not just saying that because I know them. They're great tuners. And this one's just blowing me away even more because I just figured out, they actually retweeted this on their Instagram, you can power it from USB. You can power it from USB, or you can power it from a regular DC 9-volt adapter. And it has a slave out. So if I want to run another pedal here, I haven't got to go and get another adapter. I can just slave out of that one with a little cable. I haven't got to plug into the wall again. And it's got all the features built in. It looks really nice. I keep looking at it. You can't see it. I wish you could. It looks really nice. Eventually, I'll probably set a camera up over here so you can see that rig and I can make changes in real time. But it looks really nice too. And it's just, the display is huge, you know. It's really, really great. I love their stuff. I love their new stuff too. Because I used to use their old tuners. And then when I was at NAMM, they released the little clip-on one that was the new one. And that was really great. And then they released the Strobo Stomp HD, and then they released the desktop one that I also have. I can't see it right now. Also over there. So they've basically in the last sort of 5 years, they've revised all the products and they're so much better now. And they were great before, but now they're really great. My only thing I was thinking the other day is they don't have USB-C, but you know, in about 10 years, everyone will be using USB-C. All right. Did they say they're going to NASFest? I don't think I'm going to NASFest, but I'm hoping we can hang out in New York City. Yeah, I saw that, Doc. That looks really nice. So he's got an Amp 1 and an HX effects. That does look nice. And he puts them together. So he's basically got one pedal with all his amp sounds and one pedal with all his effects. And he can control them with MIDI and talk to each other as well. That's basically what the Amp X is going to be. Actually, it's funny, isn't it? Amp 1/HX. And we're about to get the Amp X. The Amp X is basically going to be that, but with even more stuff in it. And I think that'll be an even better choice. But only when he adds all the effects, because the HX effects has more effects than that. Thomas Moore has the Boss TU2, and it works fine, but hard to see in the sun. Yeah, that's the other thing. That's one thing with the Peterson. I had it flat on the table next to me, about this high, and I couldn't see the screen. It's not like an iPhone where you can see the screen at any position. So I bought a little sort of little plastic iPad holder thing. It's like clear, and now the tuner is at this angle, and I can see it amazingly well. There's actually a tuner app for the phone that's really good as well, very accurate and really nice to use, that I've been using as well. Because their iPhone app could use a redo, in my opinion. Have you tried to play the notes around the circle? Oh my God. I mean, where does it start? Have you tried it? G-A-B. No. G, C, D, B, G. It's kind of hard to see. The first one is a G. The next one is definitely an A. No, a C, sorry. So G, C, D. G, C, D. And then B, G. That doesn't sound like anything to me. Unless I'm reading it upside down, am I? No, that's the right way up. Yeah, I don't know. Now you've got me really curious. Do you know what it is? Let me know. Gary says, yes, he did buy the guitar because of me. That was an expensive trip to Tommy Bahamas, Gary. I wish Martin still made the cutaways in the standard series. Me too. Look at this thing. Why wouldn't you? Why did they discontinue these? Do you want me to rant about it? When you're performing, like when you buy a Martin, right? They don't have any strap button. So if you want to gig it, you've got to have a strap button installed. You've got to have a pickup installed. And there's no cutaway on their standard guitars. Okay, fine. Traditional, whatever. It's fine. But this model they had is amazing because it's a traditional Martin standard series, but with a cutaway, the pickup ready to go, the strap button installed, and the battery in the back, which I don't love actually, but you know, it's fine. Why would you not make these anymore? I think it's nuts. And I tell you what, this sounds so much better than like the SC Custom that I had briefly that I returned. This sounds so much better plugged in than that guitar. So I don't know why they discontinued this series. The GPC and the HDC and the OMC, they were around for a while in the sort of like 2018, 2019, but they just got rid of them. They just didn't want to make them anymore. And now you can get them as a custom, which is cool, but this was a guitar you could buy and just go out and play a gig that night and sound great. And they don't do that anymore. They just, you know the truth is, I can rant about it because this is my channel. The truth really is that they don't do them anymore because no one bought them. You know, I bought one, Gary bought one, but they did not sell. When people went to buy a Martin from the stores, I bet they were looking for the HD 28 and the D42. people don't look for Martins to plug in, but this is a great plug-in guitar. And if I was Martin, this is what I would do. I would bring back this series of the cutaways. I would do an OMC, an HDC, and maybe a GPC. I don't know. They seem even less popular. But I would definitely do a HDC 28, and I would do an OM28C cutaway. I would not use this version of the Anthem, simply because this is me talking about what I like. I run it on full mic all the time. The SL is full mic all the time. And no one does this, but you can install the SL, not here like this one, where you can see it. You can put it further up here, right here. So you can still adjust the volume, but you don't see anything. That way, Martin would have a completely clean-looking guitar with no controls in the sound hole, and yet you've still got them hidden away. And I also wouldn't do this battery box. I mean, they do that on all their electric acoustics, but I wouldn't do that, so it's even more traditional looking. I'd stick the battery inside the guitar. All you would have is an undersaddle, the mic stuck here, and the battery in the guitar. And that would be it. You'd have a really clean, really nice acoustic. And I might even go one step further, where I call up Lloyd. I can call him Lloyd because he's a good friend of mine. No, not really, but I do like him. I would go one step further. You hear my voice in the guitar now. Where I would call up Lloyd and say, right, this is Martin. We're going to sell a lot of these pickups. This is what we want. We want maybe a new kind of undersaddle that's harder. I'm still on the fence about that whole thing with the undersaddle, but maybe a different kind of undersaddle, or even have the pickup built into the saddle, some new design, maybe, I don't know. And then the controls, I would have them black. But then again, I wouldn't. I'd either have no controls, or I'd have the controls, but have them, like I said, mounted up here, so the player can't see them and the audience can't see them. And put the battery inside. Actually, that's all you got to do. There's nothing else to do. I was thinking you get a custom one made where this control is black, but you don't need that. You just mount it higher up in the guitar. So that would be such a great. It still look traditional, but it would be it would just sound great. So I don't know. That's what I would do. But how many would they sell? We don't know. Tone Pilot, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it. Did you have a question? I'm going to scroll down. I'll come back to this one. Let me just make a mark here. Oh, got to run. Wife wants me to make dinner. Have a beer on me. Cheers. I thought you had a question for me, but it's because you've got to leave. But your next comment was, I only use Elixir on all my guitars now, the Polyweb series. I use NanoWeb. But yeah. Whatever works. They definitely last a lot longer. Thomas Moore says, Elixirs are way too bright for my Martins. I use D'Addario. I kept trying those D'Addarios, but never really worked out for me. They're okay. They work for me. I put them number 3. I think I put the Martins number 1, tied with Elixirs 1 and 2, because I keep switching between them and I use them on different guitars. And then next would be those EJ17s. They're good. But they kind of, I don't know what happened with them. I think they felt nice, but they still died a bit quick as well. So I don't know. You say Elixirs are too bright. Remember though, there are the Phosphor Bronze and the 8020s. And there's the NanoWeb and the Polyweb. So did you try the Phosphor Bronze NanoWeb? I think I agree they can be a bit bright in the beginning, but I think like after a few days they settle down. And then they just last a long time. Whereas the Martins are still a bit bright when you put them on, and then they settle down, and then they die. For me, a lot of this is to do with the sweat in your body. Also like John Pierce and Martin as well, but the Dario is my go-to. Okay, I think they make an XS now as well, which is also a lifespan type thing. I haven't tried those. I just put a set of Martin Retro Nickel on my GPC 28. Seemed to have a bright sound and louder than the Phosphor Bronze. I tried those Retros once. I quite liked them. I tried them years ago. Didn't like them, but maybe it's because they look kind of funny. And then I tried them about a year ago. I quite liked them. And yeah, you're right. They don't sound like vintage. They don't sound. When I say vintage, I'm implying a warmer, duller, not bright sound. They don't sound like that. They actually do sound very. I thought they sounded quite bright. I think you're right. So, Gary also has the Strobo Stomp HD. Be aware if you play outdoors in the sun and wear polarized sunglasses, the display will appear blank. That's no good. So the solution is to not play outside in the sun and not wear polarized sunglasses, Gary. Oh dear. That's the problem with a lot of gear though, isn't it? When you have direct sunlight. Kevin says, I changed the strings that came on my Martin Special. Oh, you got the Special D16E. Was that the same as the one that I reviewed? Martin Lifespans. I put Elixir, Nano, Phosphor Bronze. That's what I've got, yeah. Stays in tune better, but I did work on the nut. There we go. I think it's the nut. I think it's the nut on that guitar. I'll let, so in a week or two when I've had that guitar looked at, I'll let everyone know what the problem was. I want to take that as soon as possible because I want to get it out on the road again, on the gigs again. So I think I might actually take this week just to see how I feel. I do think I need to dial in that EQ a bit. I need to warm it up a bit. It's got a very spiky sound, isn't it? You can get the Peterson to stop spinning. The turbo won't ever stop. I can't remember how the turbo works. You're right. It is slightly different. And yeah, when the Peterson is in tune, it doesn't. Yeah, it stops. It stays. It might like quiver. You're never going to tune the strings so the Peterson is like completely still. I mean, you can, but there's always like a little quiver, you know. But that's fine. The string is moving, isn't it? It's like that. But I mean, even if a Peterson is doing that, it's still really in tune. That's how accurate they are. I think that's why people struggle with them. They feel like they've got to get it dead to stay still, and they get frustrated that it doesn't. But the fact is, even if it was moving a little bit like this, it's still it's more in tune than a Boss tuner. And if it's like quivering, then that's about as in tune as you're ever going to get the string. There'll always be a little bit of movement in the string. Yes, that's one thing I want to try. Putting some nut sauce or graphite in the nut. But I don't do that on my other guitars. I think if a nut is cut correctly, then it shouldn't go out of tune. So. Tone Pilot says, haven't tried it, it's not in tab. I'll do that. When I later on, I'll put the t-shirt so I'm not looking down on it, and I'll write out the notes, and I'll see if I can figure out what the tune is. Because I'm actually curious now. Rosanna, we've never been. Never been? Never been to New York? Where have you been in America before? Anywhere? Have you ever been to America before? Let me know. And thanks again for the super chat, Tone Pilot. Gary said, I just had to replace the input jack on the Martin battery box panel. They use a cheap import jack. Well, really? Got it replaced and life is good. I also dislike the N-pin jack placement. Prefer combo N-pin. Yeah, so most guitars have a input jack in the center, and that is where you put your strap and you put the guitar cable. Martin put the strap over here and then the jack over here. Now, do I like that or not? I like the jack in the middle because then when you put the cable in, it holds the strap onto the guitar, so you don't need a strap lock or anything. But this solution does mean you can open the battery compartment quickly if you need to. I mean, the only problem I have with this is at the end of the day, they've cut a piece of wood out of the guitar, which they didn't need to, because the battery lasts so long on the Anthem anyway. Now, it would be useful if your battery was dying at a gig. It's nice, because you haven't got to loosen the strings and change the battery. You can just take the battery out. So I get it. There's times when this could be a lifesaver, but for me, as I'm very up with this stuff, and I change strings often, and I change batteries often, I think about this stuff all the time, that wouldn't really be a problem for me. But then again, I mean, it's, you know, I say they've cut wood out. It's a small part, but, you know, the good thing with these is you can reuse them for other pickups as well. You can wire the battery in. So I think it's nice. It's a bit goofy to have a battery bag up here, you know, Velcro and battery bag and another wire. It's nice. And I guess weight-wise as well, it puts more weight down here rather than having it all down this end. So your guitar's not heavy this way. So I think it's got a lot of good things about it. But if I had a choice, I would just do a traditional jack, like you're saying. And I would also do the SL and hide this controller, because then you'd have a really clean-looking guitar. for sure. So that's good to know, though, replacing the input jack. So what did you do? Did you get Martin to replace the whole thing, or did you get a higher quality input jack and wire it in? Because I know I've done this before. You take this out, and you can just like put another jack in there. So what did you do, Gary? I'm interested. Thomas Moore says, I get a mechanical pencil and run it on the nut slot each time I change strings. It helps. I never tried nut saw since this works. Yeah, honestly, I just can't. Again, I'm too lazy to do that. When I change strings, I clean the whole guitar, and I guess it wouldn't be that much just to do that up here. But what I'm trying to say today, I guess, is that this guitar doesn't really have that problem. That's in tune, right? It's gone like one. It's gone one step to the left. No, well, no, it hasn't. It was just wobbling. That's still in tune. So my point is, if you've got a good nut and it's cut correctly and good tuners and the saddle's all fine, you shouldn't need to do. I mean, I guess it's good. You can never be careful enough with such an imperfect instrument such as a guitar, especially if you're using a whammy bar and electric. But I just feel like with an acoustic, because there's no moving bridge, everything is just static. You shouldn't have to do that. I mean, yeah, you can do it. It might make it even better. But my point is, I shouldn't have to tune between every song. It's such a drag. I can't do it anymore. Because I'm like, okay, tune and check the tune, and then you get paranoid. So you're checking the tuning between every song, even if it isn't out of tune. It's just annoying. I want to put the strings on, stretch them in, tune them, play, go to the gig, tune and play, and I'm done. And then tune before the second set, and I'm done. I don't want to be tuning between every song. It's so annoying. They've been to Mexico and the Caribbean, but not really never been to America. Wow. Quentin says output jack. Oh, what? Oh, what did I say? Input jack? Oh, it's all the same. Whatever. Yeah, you're right. It's an output jack because the sound goes out into the mixer. It doesn't go in. Oh, Gary called it the input jack. Yes. It's fine. It's all we know what it's saying. My tech replaced just the jack, and that they used a high quality jack. They used a higher quality jack. Did they? Was that their actual words? Like Martin used a cheap or whoever makes this jack, but used a cheap input jack. I'd like to know more about that, just for future reference. Yeah, you're gonna have a good time, Rosanna. I can't believe you haven't been before to America. Wow, that's crazy. Wow. Let me see what I can do with this guitar now. I'll take a little break from the comments. So, it's a very bright sound, which I like, especially if you like fingerstyle. You get that nice, bright cutting sound. You also get more string. You get quite a lot of string noise with this system. Let me see if I can EQ it a little bit better. So I'm going to go to the trebles here, and I'm going to do a cut. I'm just going to turn down. I'm going to do a, what would it be, high or low shelf? Yeah. So what this is going to do is basically cut everything. High shelf. Right, so it's set to 4,000, and then this is going to cut everything, either cut everything lower than 4,000 and lower it, or raise everything. So you'll hear it if I play. You can hear the hiss has gone up. This is boosting everything up. I don't want that. It's already too bright for me. I want a warmer sound, so I'm going to make that shelf come down by about 3 dB. If you listen really carefully with headphones on, you can hear the hiss, the tone of the hiss. You can use that to do your sound, because you hear that sss, and the pitch doesn't change, but the sss goes from a bright sound to like a duller sound. You can hear it. You can hear the hiss being EQ'd, of course, right? That's better already. So that's 4,000 hertz and minus 3 dB. So at 4,000 hertz, which is getting quite bright, it's then a 3 dB is being lowered gradually down like a slope. So I'll give you a before and after. So this is with the EQ off. Oh no, I've changed the volume now. That won't work. This is with the EQ back at 0 on the trebles. Right, very, very like plasticky in a different way. So let's bring that down by 3 decibels. So much warmer, right? Definitely warmer. You could go even further. I don't think I need to, but we could do a -5 just to show people what it sounds like. What I'm hearing now is I'm hearing something in the mid-range. So let's find out what that is. I'll go to the mid-range EQ. And what you do is when you want to find, I've told this before, when you want to find a problem, you boost it because you want to hear what the problem is before you cut it. So this time I'll turn that mid-range up by 3 decibels and I'll just scan through. It's not enough. I'll do 4 decibels. It's around 1K, isn't it? So now I can cut that by -2, maybe. Much warmer sound though, much more natural. It's still got those qualities. You're never going to use EQ to get rid of any, completely eliminate problems you have with a sound, but you can improve it. I'm not convinced that is the right frequency for the mid-range, but anyway, that's close enough for now for this demo. And then I'll go to bass and then check out. The bass isn't too bad because the bass is all the undersaddle pickup, and undersaddle pickups are good for bass. But because it's such a kind of mid-rangey sound to begin with, I might just boost that by a couple of dB just to help. Because if you boost treble and bass, you get less mids, right? If everything's flat and you boost the treble and bass, the result is you hear less mids because you hear more treble and bass. So that will always help in that regard. So this is 125 boosted by 2 dB. Now, the other thing you got to remember is this is all relative to what you're listening on. Because if you're at home listening on a phone, everything will just sound bright anyway. Because a phone doesn't reproduce any bass below like 500 hertz. I love my new. I haven't configured my iLoud speakers recently. I've got to do the mic again and configure them. But it has a setting where it lets you hear what a phone would sound like. So it basically just cuts everything below 500. So when you're mixing a song, that's what a phone would sound like when you listen to a phone. If you're listening on big studio monitors or big speakers, you might think that the original sound wasn't bright. But But the thing is, I'm using the headphones, so that sound is right in my ears, right in, everything's direct, so it's got more brightness to me. Also, this is a brighter sounding system than the Cole Clark. The Cole Clark is definitely a warmer sound because I actually don't like the mic much on that. I like the body sensor and the undersaddle. The undersaddle on that one is very punchy and big, and the body sensor is also very thick. So therefore, when comparison is the thief of joy. When you compare two systems, one is going to sound a lot more bright to you than another one because they're so different in themselves. But this is nice. And it's just reverb on there. Now I can still hear that piezo quality in the high notes, right? I can still hear it. It's not that the mic does everything. Where the crossover is, you're still getting the undersaddle amplifying all the strings because you can hear it. If I turn the microphone off, you can clearly hear that piezo's quality. And if I bring the mic all the way back in again, you can hear the microphone, which is a bit like the lyric. It has that sort of mid-rangey thing. It's not like an external big fat condenser mic. It definitely is like the lyric mic. It's the same microphone, in fact. But you can also hear a little bit of that piezo quality, but a lot less than you can when the mic is off. And then when you strum like that, it's still there, but you know what? It's not really a bad thing because that's what gives it the clarity at the end of the day. I recorded a microphone the other day in this room, and the result was just a muddy mess. Because just because you have a microphone in front of your guitar, that's not always going to sound $1 million. You may have to go in and EQ it a lot as well, whereas this has already been EQ'd, and we're just using an external EQ to add some stuff back into our taste, right? The fact of the matter is, at a live gig, you want a cutting sound. You don't want a muddy sound. But I think this is a nice compromise right now. And what's the alternative? The alternative is piezo only. Definitely warmer sounding, isn't it? The mic is adding a lot of treble. And there's that piezo sound. If you pick, actually, it's funny, if you pick really softly, it's not really there. If you pick hard, that's when it starts to break up. And then you add the mic. The mic is definitely adding treble. You can hear it. You can hear the presence of the microphone. Like I said, there's a way to adjust the balance between the gain between the mic and the piezo, which gives the impression of the mic being less bright, but it's still a bright sounding microphone. I mean, very, very good. The fact of the matter is, so many acoustic guitars sound terrible that when you hear one that sounds pretty good, it's really impressive. Having said that, it never ceases to amaze me that when I'm out a lot of the time, when I'm out in bars and things and people are playing loud and I'm listening, I never really think about it. It's interesting, isn't it? Also, the room sound adds so much to it, because when you're playing direct like this, it's so different when you're in the room. Some people have asked me to review pickups in the room and then mic up the room, which I think is I think it's a fair point, and I think it's good to have that recording as well. But I think the direct recording is what shows the viewer what that thing's going to sound like, and also what if you're going to live stream with it, like I am right now. Well, if I want to play a song right now, that is the sound you're going to get, right? You're not going to get the sound of the room or the amp. You're going to get the sound of it in direct. So the direct sound for me is really important, as well as how it translates to the room as well. So the high E string sounds a bit buzzy. Keep in mind the element only accounts for up to 200 hertz. No, but it doesn't. That's what I'm saying, Gary. The element goes further. Let's read that again. The high E string sounds buzzy. It's not. I was just picking it really hard. Keep in mind the element undersaddle only accounts for up to 250. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's actually higher than that. That's where this is a big misconception. We were going to do a video about this with LR Bags on here, like to go through all the misconceptions of the Anthem, and we never got around to doing it. As far as I know, and this is through many conversations, that's the people think it's 250 hertz, and then everything above that is the mic. That's not the case, and you can hear it you can basically hear it here, can't you? You can hear the piezo if you listen really carefully. It's not just the microphone there. What I think what it is it starts at 250, right? It's not like a hard cut. It's not like there's low strings are up to 250 and then it's all mic after 250. At 250, the mic starts to come in and then it gradually rolls off like that slope EQ. So it's a gradual thing, and that's why you can still hear a piezo sound when you're playing high up the guitar. So that's, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff with the Anthem. The other thing is you know, the way this mix control works. Apparently, here's something no one knows. The blend in here, people think it's either all undersaddle or all mic. It's not. It's either all undersaddle or undersaddle, which then crosses over to the mic, and the further you turn that, the more so it rolls off towards the mic, right? Like I just said with the crossover. But the way they do it apparently is, think of this as the SL, which doesn't have that feature. It just has the mic at full, basically, like I've got it right now. This is the SL would sound just like this, but a little louder because there's not another mix stage in there to have this blend control feature. But this is a really cool little nugget. So let me get comfortable, Gary. So I'm going to tell you a story. The Anthem SL is the mic and the undersaddle, and it doesn't have the extra crossover circuit, which means you get about 8 decibels more output. And it also means there's no way to blend. There's no way to blend the two. So you get this. You get the blend on all the way to the left. So this is what an SL would sound like this, but 8 decibels louder. And that's how I like to use the Anthem. I don't like to blend it in. I mean, I can try it. I can take it back. Sometimes I take it back just at like one turn. That's warmed it up, but it's also made it more fake sounding. So I always have the mic. I always get an itchy nose after an hour on this stream. I have the mic on because I have the mic 100% all the time. I can use an SL. So what I would do, and I thought about doing with this guitar if I was going to keep it, which I probably am, but I would take this out and put the SL in there and wire it into that output jack, Quentin, and you get more gain, and it doesn't bother me. You lose the phase control, which I don't ever use. You lose the battery control, which I never use. So I would get a smaller footprint. And by the way, no, everyone says this thing looks huge at weight. It doesn't weigh anything. It's a really light piece of plastic. The Anthem SL, in fact, only weighs 3 ounces or less. So I don't know if people get this idea that stuff in their guitar makes it like hit on the floor. It's not true at all. The battery, if anything, weighs as much as the system. And then some people don't like batteries. That's another story. So to finish the thing about this pickup, the way that they have enabled the ability to have more of a control and basically to get full pickup only, which can be useful if you're using an IR system and also if you've got a lot of feedback, is they basically took the same, I'm going to say it wrong, but it's along these lines, and one day we'll have Bags on here to explain all this. What it does is it basically overlays again, and then you use the blend. So you've got the original source and then an overlay of the sources that is then blendable with that wheel. And because they're adding that extra stage, that extra thing on top, that is giving you less output gain, output level from the system. And the SL is a harder system. Doesn't really matter. If you're going to a professional PA system, you just add 8 decibels of gain on the system. It makes no difference whatsoever. But sometimes we plug into acoustic amps, more budget-friendly systems that actually need a bit more gain from the system, and that's why it's useful in that when you get to that. So for all those reasons, that's why I prefer the SL over this full system. But mostly because I can hide it up here, and you haven't got to look at it in the sound hole. Yeah, something like that. Gary said your sound is actually very, very good. A little piezo actually adds a little punch and bite that works in a noisy bar. Yeah, I totally agree. A mic on its own with no EQ would not work in a noisy bar. A K&K with no EQ would not work in a noisy bar. All systems need EQ. I think the Anthem needs it the least. But I think with the Anthem, sometimes it needs to be added EQ. You know, sometimes the Anthem is too... But then again, in a live room, it often doesn't because it works live so much better. There's no way, as you know, with recording, there's no way to EQ something that will sound great in all rooms, because at some rooms you'll play quietly, in some rooms you'll play loud. And when you turn a sound up, you hear more of certain frequencies. That's why when you dial in like your amp or your modeler at home at low volume in your studio, and then you go and play on stage and all you do is turn up the master volume, it sounds terrible. Because when you're at home, and I suffered with this years ago in my videos, because I was at home without headphones on, programming sounds, and I put them on the YouTube, and then people at home would turn them up and say, oh, he likes bright sounds, that sounds terrible. The reason is I was programming them at low volume in speakers. When you're at home and you're wearing headphones like this, and you program the sounds, they'll translate a lot better, but still not 100%. Like when someone mixes an album, they don't often mix with just headphones. They use a combination of speakers, headphones, and they also take it out and play it in different systems. They make sure it sounds good in all applications, and you've got to do that with the guitar sounds as well. But a lot of these things are compromises. This is a great compromise, the way they've implemented this, that gives a sound that works most of the time and doesn't feedback most of the time. It's a great compromise and a great all-round system. And then the Cole Clark is the same. The Cole Clark is the only guitar I have that sounds great in headphones and still sounds great in the room. It really translates well. And I think that's because they're using this larger undersaddle and larger body sensor and not using a microphone. I think that's why. But like I said earlier, the truth of the matter is so many guitars sound terrible that when you get one that doesn't sound terrible, that's like, wow, that's a great sounding guitar. I hate to say that, but I really believe that, you know. That sounds very negative. But I really feel that's the case. Not bad, not bad. My consideration lately is could I use it with in-ear monitors? And I could use this with in-ear monitors. It doesn't have the meat. I'm used to the meat now of the Cole Clark. It doesn't have that meat to the sound. It has a nice clarity though. Very nice, very pretty sound. Thanks for your info on the Anthem. I didn't know the details. Yeah, there's so many misconceptions about it. There's so much great info about it that's not out there. One day I'm gonna make a whole video all about all that, and then have Bags check it for correctness, because there's such it's a great system. It's a great idea, and even the other systems I love are based upon it. Like the Cole Clark system. I don't know. I must be careful because Cole Clark may have done it before LR Bags. I think they did. But Cole Clark have always used an undersaddle and a body sensor in crossover. And Maton don't crossover. They use a piezo and they slap the mic on top with no bass on it. So it just lays over the top. But that crossover often works really well. And Brian said, could you repeat that? No. That's what YouTube is for, Brian, to go back and watch again in your own time and slow it down. Wow, I could almost just sell everything and just use this guitar, couldn't I? The big downsize is still happening. I've just listed a load of pedals. I've donated some stuff. I've thrown some stuff. Nothing like, like junk stuff. I sold that box of all the stuff in one box that I found all around the place. I sold it as like a fun thing. Buy this box for $100 with just a load of stuff in it. I think I'll have enough for one more of those. So it's good. And really thinking about what do I want to have here? What do I actually use? And it was a shame. So last week I told you there was a red dot on the camera, and I spent hours on this trying to figure out what this red dot was. And it's so weird because on the regular mode the camera was fine, but as soon as I switch it to HDMI 4K output to the computer, I get this red dot, and it was in the camera, but I don't know what was causing it. So of course Sony said you have to send it to us for repair, or their company, they use a third party, and it's like $500. But I thought, you know what I want to end up with is just stuff that I use all the time, like my audio interface, my PA, my gigging guitar, my recording guitar, my electric guitar, nothing else. And then that stuff that I keep, I'm going to keep in top condition. So for example, the guitar at the moment has the problem with the tuning. I'm going to have someone look at that and really set that up really nicely, because what's the point of having a bunch of guitars that all have like little issues? I find that as well too. I go to sell something and it's got some issue. I'm going to have to fix that before I sell it. Now some people don't, they just sell it as it is. I don't want to do that. So my goal at the end of this next few months is to basically have just a handful of things, and that I maintain them to a very high level. You know, so to give you an idea, like let's say I only kept this guitar, sold everything else. If I did that, and I would send this to Sweetwater, I would have stainless steel frets installed. I'd have them plecked. I'd have them go over everything. I'd make sure I got the bone, a really good bone saddle in here, bone nut. I think it is already. If the tuners were feeling a bit sticky, sometimes these tuners do get sticky on these models, I would change them for some better one. You know, my point is I would make the guitar just as good as I possibly can. And then whenever I pick up that guitar, I'll just have a great guitar every time. Rather than, oh, I tried this guitar today and, oh, I've got to have that needs fixing, or the strings are old, and then you got to restring that guitar and restring that. It's just a big pain in the butt. So that's my plan. What's yours? Not that you need one, of course. It's your business. Oh, did you hear that? That was really painful. That scratch. That's a good reason to go in there with the tool and turn that microphone down, because that's too much. That's like hurting my ears. And I've already turned the treble down on the mixer. But you know what? I'm gonna do it right now. Hi, David. Oh, why are you late, David? You got to do the late fee. Sorry. It's, or please come in. Next week. Be here on time. No, just kidding. Just kidding, buddy. Good to see you. You missed some good information today, my friend. I'm gonna give this a slight turn, and then see if that makes it better. That's helped a lot, actually. And now I'm going to put that treble back up again. A little bit. That's much better. Much better. Huh. Let's see. Thank you, Doc. Bimo says, where do you list the stuff for sale? It's on Reverb. I'll just tell you what I got for sale right now. But you're in Canada, right? So I can't ship to Canada, I'm afraid. Mission Engineering Kemper Profiler Expression Pedal. Xsonic X-Tone Pro. Line 6 HX Stomp. A microphone lamp like the one I use in my videos. I've got a spare one of those. The TC Helicon Play GTX, the white pedal. Very, very rare pedal. The Electro Harmonix Mel 9 tape replay machine. The Boss RC500 looper. And a Studio Slips Kemper Cab case. Also a Schertler Magnetico and S-Mic M pickup. And a Bag Stage Pro Element preamp and pickup. And the Rain Song Vintage, I'm selling that. A K&K Mac 2 preamp. And that's about it. I've got the GPC Anthem for sale, but I don't want to sell it, so I'm not going to read that one out. Although I think this one does sound better because of the size of it. If any of that stuff is interested to you, then send me an email. Say hi at aaronshortmusic.com. I'll do you a really good deal. I'm going to have to find a Cole Clark and see if I like how it feels as well as how it sounds compared to my Cutaway Martins. The thing with the Cole Clarks is, that put people off is that when you get the all Blackwood ones that amplify really well, they sound smaller. They don't resonate much. But that's actually a good thing when you're on stage. The other thing is the necks are a bit fatter, and the radius is 12-inch, whereas these are 16. And I much prefer the. I don't know if you'd like it, Gary, because honestly, I love the neck on these guitars. These standard series Martin necks are amazing. But the Cole Clark pickup system is just so beefy, and you can. I mean, when you drum on that thing and loop it, it sounds like a drum. It actually sounds like a drum, whereas this sounds like a bit of a tin, not a tin can, but it sounds. It doesn't have that to it, right? So they're just they just for that thing that they do, and for stage, they just do it so well. Having said that, this does unplugged well and plays a bit faster to me. So I don't think... I really like the fingerstyle on this too, this pickup. Because of the added clarity. But yeah, I've got a feeling you won't like them. And if you did get one, you have to probably play it for a few months. I think that's the sort of thing that might grow on you. I remember I got one years ago and I didn't like it. I set everything on the guitar to like flat, and I was like, yeah, I can still hear the piezo. And I don't like the guitar, so I didn't keep it. It was like a used one from Guitar Center. But when I got one and I really committed to it and I dialed it in right, there's nothing like it, you know, nothing like that pickup sound. It's amazing. Right, and Gary, please let me know what those tuners are. Are these Waverly tuners, they just drop in? Are they the ones that are used now on the standard series? I have a funny story about this. So these are Sigma grand tunes. And I've tried several guitars with these Sigma grand tunes, and some of them are terrible. They would rattle because the hubcap on the back would rattle. The cover, right, would rattle. So when I went to NAMM and saw that Martin changed to Waverlys, I actually shouted for joy in the show on the floor. Yes, they've changed to Waverlys. And then when I got the GPC about 8 months after that, they were the worst tuners I've ever tried. I have a theory about this, Gary, which is once Martin hire you to do their parts, you can't keep the quality up. Because people used to love these grand tunes, but then towards the end of them using them on the standard series, they really went downhill. Well, of course they did. They were sending thousands of them to Martin. They switched to Waverly, amazing, no problems. And then I played some guitars 6 months later where the Waverlys were junk. So it's not always. Sometimes I have this theory that it's how popular the company gets. Of course, you can always find a set of either that work perfectly well, but I just find it gets harder and harder the more popular they are. It makes sense because they have to make them faster, right? I don't know. I might be wrong, but that's what my experience is. These still work really well. Whereas the replacement that I got Martin to send me for the GPC have started to fail again. They've got all sticky again, and they're the Waverlys. So let me know if they're the same Waverlys that you're using. Are you using the Waverlys that are now shipping on the standard series Martins is my question. Need a filter on the output. For what? So the doctor may sell the Kemper, even though he loves it, when he gets the FM9 email. I really want to try the FM9. Doesn't work out, I can just sell the FM9. You're trying everything right now. I'm in a commitment phase. I've committed to the Quad Cortex. And I've made it work. You know, I've got the ADAT, which means I can plug in the Quad Cortex and have it in all the time, and also plug in other stuff to my sound card. So that was a really good idea. I've got the tuner now. I'm basically the things that I was missing from the Kemper I've added. So that's more of an expense. But what I've now got is a rig that I'm very, very, very happy with. And even the best tuner on those modelers is not as good as the Peterson Strobo tuners. So that's fine. Gary's getting a quote for a custom Dread cutaway. Yeah. I'm not sure it's worth it. Because the customs right now are really, really, really expensive. Let me know what spec you've put on that, and I'll let you know what I think. Waverly Aftermarket from StuMac. Oh, I'd love it, Gary, if you could message me on Facebook the actual exact order number, or the exact number from the order, so I can look them up, because I would like to put those in. Eventually, when I decide what guitars I'm keeping, I'd like to get even better tuners, and maybe they're better. Maybe I can figure out what tuners they're using and see if they are actually better than those ones, and I would do that, because some tuners are really sucking these days. Yes, good point. I've done that before with recordings BMO. I find the frequency of the finger squeak and I cut those frequencies out. But actually, look, just from changing that mic inside with the infamous tool, it's a lot better now. A lot better. Had my tech installed. I'm not sure if they dropped right in, but it looked the same. Open back. If you could ask him for me if they just dropped in, I'd really appreciate it, and also what the model is, because that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to install tuners in the guitar and have to re-drill. Sometimes you have to re-drill the hole here, make it a bit bigger, which is, I guess, it's okay, but it's good information to know if they're just drop-ins. Kemper tuner is excellent. It is, but it's still not as good as a Peterson Strobo stock. Bill, are they Waverleys or Grand Tunes? I think they're going to be Waverleys, like on mine. Yeah, they were. I never told that story. They were really bad. Like they were like click, click, stick, 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 stick. And I emailed Martin, and nice lady got back to me, and she said, right, take the guitar to one of our authorized repair centers. And I said, last time I went to an authorized repair center 5 years ago to fix a crack, they completely ripped me off and damaged one of my instruments. I didn't say that, but that's the truth. That's why I'm very cautious now. I only like to go to Evan, right? So, I also emailed Waverly, and I can't believe this. They said to me, they said we don't replace them. You have to go through Martin. And I said, well, with Grand Tune, they just sent me another set with the previous company, the ones on here. In fact, this is what they did. These ones were bad too. They sent me a set. When I say bad, I mean they weren't smooth, right? They sent me a new set. I put them in. I was done. I got rid of the old ones. That set worked great. So I said to Waverly, can you just send me a whole new set, please? Because these are a problem. They said, no, we don't do it. So we went round and round and round. And then eventually they said, look, as a one-time courtesy, we'll send you a new set. Send us the old set, and we'll send you a new set. And I said, it is very kind of you to offer to do that. That's a great solution. But if I take these out of here, which I can do, it's not hard to remove them, I'm going to have a guitar sitting around with no strings, no tuners and strings on it for 3 weeks. So I said, that's not going to work for me. So what I then did is this is what I advise you to do when you buy a new instrument and have a problem. I filmed a video just for my iPhone. I didn't come in here and threaten to go live or anything. I just got my camera in the kitchen and filmed and you could hear you could hear it, right? And I sent that to Martin, and then straight away they said, oh, no problem, we'll send you. It was just obvious at that point. They're like, we'll send you another set. They sent me another set, and they were fine. But lately, they've started going sticky again. There's something up. I think these vintage style tuners can just be bad. So that's why I would do the investigation in case I'm asked in the future about this issue. So what Gary's done. I'd like to know if Gary's a drop-in or not, and if the $200 ones are actually the same as these or a higher quality tuner. And then that'd be great information to have. But you shouldn't have to do any of that with a guitar that costs this much money. You shouldn't have these issues at all. And I think a lot of people have that issue and just don't know it. They don't realize that it's sticky. They don't feel it. But it's very, very annoying. And it's interesting that Bill has that as well. So there you go. The standard series uses Grover, yeah. No, not Grover. This is an older one. This is a Sigma Grand Tune. The standard series now uses Waverleys, right? Let's have a look on Sweetwater. Let's have a look at HD28. Are they in stock? Yes. Because there's lots of guitars in stock now. Of course, they may have changed the tuners again since I did this last. Oh, they are Grover. Sorry, I've been saying the wrong thing. You're right, David. They're Grover. They're not Waverly. Okay, so I haven't tried the Waverleys. So, Gary, yeah, that's exciting. The Waverleys may be the solution. Because I've been saying the wrong thing the whole show. The Grand Tunes I had a problem with on some sets, and then some I didn't. Like this set is a replacement, it was fine. The Grover that Martin switched to, unless they've switched again, have they? But if there are in fact Grovers in the current lineup, they also have gone. After a few months, and 6 months have passed, I then found issues with a lot of those as well, including one of my guitars. And then the Waverly, I think they use on different guitars, right? But so that's really cool. So I would do that. If anyone's watching this and has that problem, I would get the Waverleys installed. But like I said, it's annoying that you have to do that. So $200, yeah. But it's so worth it, Gary, isn't it? When you're at a gig, you don't want it to be like feel sticky and broken. It's just crazy. You have to change them ourselves, though. All right. I had the blue piece in tuner years ago. It was a nice tuner. Yeah, I had that one too. And the screen used to lift up, come unstuck and lift up. But it had a mic output, which was nice, a DI output. But the new one is so much better. So much better. And the screen doesn't lift up. Yes, you're right, BMO. If you do have to modify it, you just have to drill out the hole a little bit of a different size. But again, if the reason I'm asking Gary is partly because I would be interested in this for myself, but also someone will undoubtedly ask me this question. It will come up in the chat in the future. So I just want to know, if you get those $200 Wavelies that you got, can they just in fact drop in like that? Because that's a big difference. That means you can do it yourself at home, and that's even nicer when you can do it at home and not have to buy more drill bits. The Rain song stays in tune for weeks. Well, that's even better because the guitar, everything about it is steady, isn't it? There's a video going around the internet where someone takes a wooden guitar, they do this, and they step out the front door in the cold, and it drops in pitch, and they walk back in, and it's back in pitch again because the wood is moving, whereas with a carbon guitar, nothing's moving. But if your nut is not cut correctly and your tuner's not good on the carbon guitar, they will still go out of tune. And my Rain song does go out of tune, but I think it's because I carry it around in the gig bag. So when I get to the gig, the tunes have been like physically moved by the bag, right? That Martin guitar of yours sounds really good out here. That's good to know. I shall watch the stream back later because that's how I judge things these days. And the other way I judge things is I would take this to a gig and play. And everyone always says that the audience doesn't care. Simply not true. The amount of times, like with the Cole Clark, the amount of times people have said to me, that guitar sounds amazing, looks great, looks cool, sounds so good. I'm like, yeah, you can hear it, right? It's not just the player. When the guitar sounds that good, the audience can hear it. So if I take this instead, what are people going to say to me? Oh, that sounds even better. Or they're going to say it doesn't sound as good, or they're going to just not care. That's why it's good to try stuff at shows. That is a very, very good sound. Very clean and crisp. Thank you, Brian. The description is Waveley guitar tunes, butterbean knobs. That's what these are. Butterbean. For solid pegheads, nickel, 3 left and 3 right. Okay. Sent you the link, 178. Thank you. I'll check that out. And I can just ask them as well if they're drop-ins or not. No issues with the Waveley tuners here. On 2 guitars, one from StewMac, one from factory. Okay, good. Sounds like Wavelies are the way to go if you've got any issues with your tuners. They are smooth and tune really well. Awesome. Very good. Yeah, if I was to keep the GPC that I have, I would put those on it because they are not smooth enough for me. The current picture from HD28 looks like Scala tuners. They may be switching again or using what's. Oh, yeah, good point. I think they switched from these grand tunes to Grover. I don't think they've used Wavelies on the standard series, but that's just, you know, I'd have to do more research to confirm that. Yeah, Grover. That's right. They switched from grand tune to Grover. I think the Wavelies cost even more, and that's probably why they don't use them. But I believe on an instrument of this price, especially what the prices are now, these should have the best tuners on them. That's just my opinion. You might not agree. Well, this has been a very interesting chat. Again, I appreciate everyone hanging out. We covered loads of stuff today. We went in depth about the Bag's Anthem. We talked about reasons your guitar won't stay in tune. We talked about guitar tuners. And that was really, really cool. And I just want to let you know, this week's... Oh, yeah, if you missed the news on Friday, please watch it. There's some Martin-related news on the news from Friday. Please check that out. Wednesday, I'm going to be posting the giveaway for the acoustic pedal. That's definitely happening this Wednesday. So enter that. Here's a little heads up for you guys that stayed here the whole time to check that out. I don't suppose many people will enter that giveaway. So if you want to win that pedal, make sure you watch that video on Wednesday. And then Friday will be the news again. Friday's news every week in the afternoon, and Monday is live stream every week at 4. And then Wednesday is a product video or a recorded video of some kind, which this week will be the Sonicake acoustic pedal. So that's awesome. So nice to see everyone. Have a great week. If you're new here, I didn't do my thing today. If you're new here, please subscribe and ring the bell. I really appreciate it. Help me get up to 14K. Like this. There we go. That's very, very cool. And everyone take care and be well. I look forward to seeing you on next Monday's live stream. And subscribe and ring the bell and turn on notifications, and it will tell you when I upload or post a video during the week. So have a great week. I'm going to play you out. I'll see you again soon. Ta-ta. He just said Grovers suck. I had those and they were creaky. Exactly. They're creaky, they stick, but not when you get a good set. But then I've also had a set that was good and went bad. So I don't like that. So I'm going to check out those tuners you mentioned, Gary. I wouldn't rush to do that mod, but I'm definitely going to have it in the back of my mind in case I decide to stick with this guitar. I would definitely put those on this, you know, and as I said earlier, make the guitar as good as it can be. I just wish the companies made them that way in the first place, you know. Thanks, Rosanna. Give me a call about your trip, and thanks for moderating. Thank you, Gary. So what I might do, maybe next week, once that guitar's prepared, maybe we'll do a comparison. That could be fun. We'll do a live comparison. You can help me choose, you know, the gear, because I've got so much stuff that's leaving, and it'd be good to do some more live kind of comparisons. Maybe where you can't see what I'm playing and see what people think. You just have to remember that I do agree with people. The sound you hear recorded it's not the full picture. It's what it sounds like in the room. You know what? Even a K&K with some EQ sounds really good in the room. But when I put the headphones on, it does not sound really good. So that's the difference. I gotta go. I'll see you next time. Keep in touch and subscribe, ring the bell. Bye-bye.